A issue that shifted my perspective was, I guess, a near-death experience. Just being in a situation, I had several near-death experiences, being in physical altercations. But this near-death experience was something with my health that caused me to be hospitalized, or I was actually told there's a possibility that you may not make it. So it just changed my life perspective, changed my perspective on life. I was in a domestic violence situation or in a relationship where domestic violence was present. And I remember trying to defend myself, and I tried to use a weapon on the individual, but he was faster than me, and he grabbed a pipe and almost hit me in my head. And so, in that moment of realizing what could have happened, it was very traumatic, very traumatizing. And then again, having another physical altercation with this individual. And this time I was picked up, body slammed, and I remember hitting my head on the sink, passing out, having to go to the hospital. And the police officers asking, hey, are you sure you just slipped and fell? Did something happen? I'm like, no, I just slipped and fell. But they said, well, you have a concussion, more of a concussion that don't, it didn't show a concussion where me saying I just slipped and fell matched what they were able to see. And I just told them, like, no, I slipped and fell, I'm okay. And so I think in those moments of knowing that, hey, I could have died if this happened or if that happened, it was very traumatic for me. But again, later on in life, not being in a physical altercation with anybody, now in a place where I'm at more peace and enjoying life, all of a sudden my organs started to fail. And I had to get rushed to the hospital, and I stayed in the hospital and being told that there's a possibility that you may not survive this. It was a different type of experience. Type of person that I like to find out the root of situations. I think because, as I said before, I've been in a relationship where domestic violence was present. And so a lot of times when you're dealing with those situations, you come out of those situations and you have a mindset at first where you're the victim. Where the other person is wrong, where they wronged you, and everything is just the other individual. And so I guess I got tired of blaming everybody else for what I went through, and I wanted to change. I realized that although I changed partners, I was still repeating the same situation. So I decided to realize and do some self-reflection and saying, okay, let me find out what's going on with me. Let me find out what's attracting these type of people to me. Let me find out why am I still in these situations. So for me, I like to get to the root of it. I started out changing my environment. And I think just being realistic with what I wanted in life, being realistic with myself, what was my expectations, what were my life goals. And so at the time, I was living a fast life. I loved hanging in the world, going out, partying, just doing a lot of things. And so I had to change my environment. I had to move far away from everybody that had that same mindset. I spent a lot of time praying. I actually was in that moment strayed away from Christ. And so I started back going to church, started back getting in my word, seeking the Lord in prayer and asking questions, surrounding myself with people that to me presented themselves as they had already overcome. I think that if we try to change our situations and we stay in the same environment, or we don't involve ourselves with people that have a different mindset for us to come out, we end up just changing locations but not changing the situation. So for me, I had to change the circle that I was in, spend a lot of time praying, spend a lot of time finding out my worth, understanding God's purpose for my life, and understanding that there was a purpose for my life. It changed tremendously. Um, just me as a woman of God, me as a woman, period, who I am. It changed a lot. It changed my relationships. It changed my mindset. It changed my expectations for myself and for others. I'm able to be, influence other people in similar situations. It also changed the way I parent because this previous relationship that I were in, I had children. So it was my first marriage, and so I think I don't think we always understand how we can parent in trauma. A lot of times when you endure traumatic situations, whether it be from your childhood or from marriages or however those encounters happen, sometimes we parent out of our trauma. And so changing my life, changing my situation helped me parent my children better, helped me show them that you don't just have to exist in this pain, but you can actually heal from it. You can actually talk about it. You can cry about it. You don't have to muzzle your emotions or just again, try to exist. There is life in a lot of different things. And I don't think we always realize that we're just existing in situations, but to live again. So I guess, in changing, I'm able to bring others hope. I think I said this before. I'm real big on what I call trauma bonds. A lot of people call them trauma bonds. And so sometimes we build relationships off of our trauma. And, oh, I've been through this, I've been through that. We could be best friends, we can date, we can do this. But I'm real big on making sure if we have this same traumatic experience, did you come out of it? Because I don't want to stay in it. So I believe in building relationships that are resourceful in a way to your life, to your mental health, um, and for every area in your life. So make sure you have the same mindset to come out. And I make sure I taught my children, we've been through some traumatic things. We've been through a lot of stuff. We've seen a lot of stuff. But there is life outside of this. And you want to make sure you surround yourself with friends who have goals, friends who not just have goals, but you see them trying to accomplish them in ways that's beneficial to your future and that won't hurt you. So in those changes, we went from, of course, staying in our own place, you know, and if you're familiar with living a fast lifestyle, for lack of better words, if you make money by selling drugs or doing anything like that, anything that's just help you make money fast, you can go to the store and buy whatever you want to buy, take trips, do whatever you want to do. But then all those things come to an end when you decide to let it go. So I went from having my own place to having to move back home. We went from being in the mall, shopping, wearing the latest labels or the new shoes that came out to, I had to wait for somebody to pass down clothes for my children, and just didn't do anything for myself. I went from making fast money to having to work at some of the lowest places. And it's no disrespect to anybody, but when you don't make sure you further your education so that you can have a decent job to take care of your children, you have to work at some places that you may think is unworthy for you. And in some situations, it's unfortunate that you have to work several jobs because, one job can't buy one child a pair of shoes or whatever it is that they need. So we struggled. I mean, we struggled. We went from all sleeping in my parents' living room to sleeping in one room. We struggled. I was on government assistance, and I did what I had to do to take care of my children. So we struggled. It was a hard struggle. I will first say my mother, who I look up to. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Take your time.
I'm so sorry.
You don't gotta be sorry.
I see my mom overcome a lot. I've seen her overcome so much. So I really do look up to my mother. She's a woman of faith. I see my mother endure some things that I don't know if I could have, but I seen her never give up. I seen her always trust in God. I seen her um, have a remaining prayer life throughout every situation, whether it was her praying for her marriage, praying for her children to be saved, praying for us to be delivered, praying for her grandchildren, praying for her parents, because she took care of both of her parents and her siblings. So I really look up to my mother. And so in the midst of time of me transitioning, trying to become better, I was a victim. I had the victim mindset. My mom was the first person to tell me that I was bitter. And I'm like, and she said in such a way like, "Oh, be quiet, you're so bitter." I'm like, "Wait, hold on. This is my mother not saying, oh, you're right." You know, we sometimes when we're going through stuff, we have everybody that tell us we're right. You're right and they're wrong. Nothing that you do is wrong. And my mom was the first person to tell me, "You're bitter. You need to change. Stop talking about it. What you gonna do about it?" And so she's a very sound voice for me. My husband is, I look up to him. He's a man of God as well. And I mean, he have this standard of not just, you know, sometimes we go to church, but we don't really have a lifestyle of it. And so his lifestyle reflect everything that he believe in Christ. And so he is so influential to me. My children and my siblings are very influential to me. And my dad. I can't forget about my daddy. I love my daddy. I'm a daddy's girl. But they all, my family, they're very their voice and what they tell me matters, as well as the Holy Spirit, the Word of God. And then I believe in having accountability. Someone with more wisdom, someone with, you know, that's not biased, that won't bend rules just because it's you. Like, I'm gonna tell you the truth. You need to change. You need to do this. This not good for you. This not the best thing that you're doing. So they all, you know, play a major role in my life, in making changes. One, I said, like, just to address it, I think you gotta get to the root of the matter. So with me involved in a domestic situation or even with my health, I had to figure out what led me to that point. In the domestic situation, I got into that relationship out of anger. Someone did something to me that made me angry. And it actually happened as a little girl. I experienced something, well, you know, molestation from a friend's older sibling. And so I held it because I was embarrassed about it. But then I started getting angry at people that didn't know what I was going through, even though I couldn't put it into words. And so sometimes we suffer in silence and we start blaming everybody else for what's unspoken. We have this unspoken expectation, and then we're angry at people because they can't see what we can't verbalize, or they don't understand that we can't even put it into words. And so I just had this anger built up inside of me. And anytime I would endure another hurt or something that would trigger that pain, I'll make up my mind that I'm gonna do something that I've been told not to do. For some reason, my answer to my pain was rebellion. And so that's how I ended up in that domestic violence relationship. That's also how I ended up not taking care of my health, just changing my life around and still enduring things in ministry. I started not taking as much care of myself that I should have. I started neglecting myself. So I believe in getting to the root of the matter. I also think that we cannot put our situations and confuse our situations with the character of God. A lot of times we endure stuff, but we don't blame people. We blame it on God. We hear people say, "How is God good if you love the Lord this much, if you go to church this much, you know, or if you sold out to Him, then why did you end up in that situation? Or how do you love God this much and you almost died?" And so I think we confuse our pain and our grievances with the character of the Lord, not understanding that everything we go through is for a purpose. But sometimes what we go through is the consequences of our own actions. And we don't like to be realistic about that. So, you know, we got to be real with ourselves for change to come forth, for us to evolve.
Okay.
To believe. Um, and I know that may seem so cliche, but sometimes when you go through things, especially if you go through them over and over, if you're the person that said, I've been through this before, and it keep happening again, we get into a situation when we feel oppressed and we lose our hope, and you start to believe that, hey, this life this lady talking about, this good life, because now I can tell you the Lord has restored my life tremendously, with peace, with joy, and me just being real honest with the fact that I can forgive people that really wronged me, that and once a part of my life that I thought that I would never forgive them. So I would just like to extend hope for you to believe again, to trust the Lord, and know that you can live past this. This don't have to be your end. This doesn't have to be your entire life. Find somebody that believe in you coming out, because a lot of times we have friends that can be our friends, or close people that we love that can handle us in our pain, but everybody can't handle seeing you past that pain. Everybody can't handle the healed version of you. And healing is uncomfortable. Healing is painful, but trust the process of it. So, I just want to extend that hope, for you to believe again, believe in the Lord, believe in the plans that He has for you, but trust the process of the healing, because healing is painful. I envision my future doing things like this, spreading hope, being real transparent with people, that, hey, people really go through stuff too, but we come out, we evolve, we overcome it. And also, I'm working on a couple of things. I'm going back to school to get another degree, making some career changes. So I'm excited about that. I'm working on writing some books. I'm excited about that. I'm a better writer than I am a talker. So, I'm excited about doing those type of things, and just collaborating with different people that have the same type of desires to help another individual, not just mentally, but financially, and definitely spiritually. I'm a pastor, so hey, I'm always spread the love of the Lord. I pastor with my husband in Conroe, and I'm from Houston, so you'll understand that I say I'm from Houston when I say I'm pastoring in Conroe, because I'm H-Town all day. But we pastor in Conroe together. We're young, not too young, but we're young enough to be real. Nothing is new to us to talk about, very transparent. But we stand firm in the word. We're going to tell the truth. We're going to show the love of Christ. But we're going to teach sound doctrine. We believe in seeing people's lives change again, mentally, spiritually, and financially. We have this, sometimes we have an image of Christ, and, people have the idea that you cannot be successful in things if you're a Christian, and that's just not true.